have young people who are dealing with racism every day. What would you say the young people are really saying about race relations here in this country?
Well, I think we're looking at a generation that is not interested in continuing and repeating what the generations before us have done. We consistently throughout history see the same thing repeated over and over and over again. And I don't think this generation is very interested in duplicating what their parents did. And especially in this country, much to what you had said, I think Canada likes to be looked at as this peaceful country that all nations look to as the moral compass of this world. And I think the fear of race-based data, all of these things are going to shatter that false reality that most Canadians that don't experience racism in this country would rather ignore because it's not their problem. But I think what we're seeing is a generation that's not going to take the status quo any longer, because most of us have seen our parents work hard for this country, help build this country,
yes,
and they're going to reap the benefits of that because our parents came to this country to do that. And folks who have been here for generations back to slavery, because it did exist in this country, which folks seem to forget all too often, we have contributed to this country's being built. And I think if we look at the Black community now and this generation, they're just not having it anymore. And I'm very encouraged by that, because I don't think I personally have any interest of continuing what the generations before us have already said and already done. And I think what we're seeing is this is now becoming everyone's problem. Because, I was chatting with somebody and they said, well, all of the protests and it's just causing more mayhem and more disaster. And the reality is our communities have been in disaster mode and urgency mode for generations.
Yes.
And because of our problem, it was okay. But now the whole entire world has opened up to see what racism can actually look like. And when we think about it, we saw a modern day lynching on our TV screens. And that is what woke us up. And the trauma of that, no matter where you live in this country, some, premiers, whomever, want to ignore the fact that, think that racism stopped at the southern border.
Yes.
Us viewing that and us seeing that as a generation that has, our parents have come to this country where we are able to obtain a level of education, take advantage of opportunities that our parents weren't able to do. And I think this generation is realizing it doesn't really matter how hard I work if
right.
the system's creating barriers for me. So what I think is the time is now. This generation is not having it. And I really hope that they don't stop the level of protests and urgency and pressure until we really see real systemic change.
Awesome, and protests definitely they have been doing. When we saw the knee chokehold and that went through the world virally, I know Jamar, these